Are you headed towards diabetes? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ask Dr. Pickel Show. So today we want to find out if you're headed towards diabetes. How would you know this? How would you know that your blood sugar is getting higher, and what symptoms would you have to show this? Well, the first thing we're going to look at, the first sign that you're headed towards diabetes, is usually you go into the doctor's office and they check your blood work, and they show, one of the tests they'll do is called a hemoglobin A1C, and it'll show that it's getting higher. Now, first, to explain that, what is this hemoglobin A1C all about? Well, basically, as your red blood cells circulate through your body, they have a certain amount of blood sugar that attaches to them, and it'll always stay attached once it attaches. And that red blood cell, these red blood cells, they live for about 90 to 120 days. So this gives us a good marker as to, hey, how high is the blood sugar for this amount of time? So it does give us kind of a good average. So that's the first sign, is if your hemoglobin A1C on the blood test rises above a 5.7, yeah, then you're in prediabetes, or what's also called insulin resistance. So another thing that can be commonly looked at is your glucose level, but glucose can fluctuate a lot during the day and even in the morning due to higher cortisol levels. You never want to just check your glucose first thing in the morning, because cortisol is higher in the morning and that can make it look higher than normal. And a lot of people, they'll come and say, oh, my blood sugar is really high in the morning. Well, yeah, it's because of your cortisol levels, and it really irks me when the doctors tell patients to check their blood sugar in the morning too. So the thing about this, though, is why are blood sugars running higher? Why are all these people getting prediabetes? The numbers in the research are growing. More and more people, especially in the United States. The United States is actually the worst. Of every country in the world, we have the highest rate of diabetes, we have the highest rate of prediabetes, and then that in-between area of people transitioning is moving faster and faster and faster. So a lot of this can be blamed on the standard American diet. What do they call the SAD diet? And that is a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugar. These are the downfalls. These are the things that are creating these problems usually. But yeah, that's the number one thing. So the number two thing is, when they look at your blood test, they should also look at your insulin levels. So insulin, think of insulin as a taxi cab. It's made by your pancreas, and it's a taxi cab that carries your blood sugar to your cells and says, hey, knock, knock, here's your blood sugar delivery, and the door should open and allow the blood sugar in, and then the cell should get the blood sugar and say, hooray, now I can make energy. And that's the way it should happen. So when you eat a meal, you should say, hey, that energized me. I feel good after eating. I needed to eat. So, but the thing is when people have insulin issues, high insulin, there's a reason. So what happens is, if your blood sugar goes too high, if you get too much sugar in, now your pancreas has to make a ton of these taxi cabs to taxi all this up. The problem is high insulin is inflammatory. It's like pouring gas on a fire. So now your cells of your body go, whoa, don't do that to us, and they close their doors and lock them. So now the taxi cab called insulin brings the blood sugar to the door and says, hey, here's your delivery. Doors don't open. Blood sugar doesn't get in the cell. And so now we've got these high insulin levels, which are inflammatory. And then if they look at your blood test and they say, hey, your fasting insulin's a little high, because when you fast for a blood test, like they had you do with your hemoglobin A1C test, that fasting insulin should really be kind of below a 5. You shouldn't be making insulin if there's nothing, if you haven't eaten all night, you slept all night long, and then you got your blood drawn. So you shouldn't have an elevated insulin at all. Your pancreas should be like, oh, I've been sleeping, I don't have to work, because they didn't eat a meal. So this is another thing that'll start to go high. And as it increases, some people, their fasting insulin can be like 25 plus, and that's really when you'll start to see diagnoses of diabetes also. All right, so number 3, what can happen is what's called craving sweets after meals. So if you're like, gosh, I just ate dinner, I just ate lunch, I just wish I had something sweet after, I'll have many patients come in, they'll say, oh, I just have a sweet tooth. My mom had a sweet tooth, my dad had a sweet tooth, I have a sweet tooth. Well, what's a sweet tooth? Because dentally, there is no diagnosis called a sweet tooth. That's an impossible diagnosis. This is insulin resistance. This is pre-diabetes starting to sneak up on you. Yeah, or unless you already have it and you're into diabetes, then this is like every meal you wish you had something sweet. It's because you're eating, your blood sugar is going high, that blood sugar is not getting into your cells, and your cells are like, you ate, but I didn't really get anything. So please give me something more. Give me something sweet, because at least I can, maybe transport something into the cell. But this craving for sweets after meals is not a good thing. Another one that's really common is feeling tired after meals. If you're like, yeah, I just ate this meal, now I need to take a nap. Now I need to go lay down. My energy got zapped. These are all the people that are at the coffee shop drive-up window after lunch because they're trying to get some caffeine to bring them out of this post-lunch fatigue so they can actually finish working for the rest of the day. So the thing is feeling tired after meals, your food at that point is not providing you energy. But now what's happening is you've got all this blood sugar floating in your bloodstream, high insulin, and your body's like, hey, I can't just let this blood sugar float around. These taxi drivers, this insulin level cannot maintain this, so store it for later. And to convert that blood sugar into stored fat takes a lot of energy. So your body's like, okay, divert all that energy into this process because we got to get this under control. And then the rest of your body says, okay, now we don't have any energy. Blah, I'm going to take a nap. Yeah, so feeling tired after meals. The next one on the list, number 5, is you're starting to get neuropathy symptoms. What does that mean? That means your nerves are starting to get damaged. So what happens is as your blood sugar goes up and your insulin goes up, your body's not able to deposit that blood sugar. It's not able to deliver it to your cells properly for energy. So like I said, it has to go into storage. Sometimes your body will actually start to store it in your nerves. Your nerves do not use blood sugar like other tissues of your body. They don't use the blood sugar well at all. So if you start to store it in your nerves, it actually damages those nerves. Usually the first indicators are usually in the feet because that's furthest from the heart. We have less circulation. Usually it's numbness or tingling. As this advances, people lose the ability to really feel their toes or feel their feet. Sensory nerves start to get damaged. Then eventually it can damage motor nerves. And then it's like, not only can I not feel my feet, but I'm losing my ability to move my legs and feet. Not a good thing. Of course, that's more with advanced diabetes, but the early signs can be I'm getting numbness and tingling in my feet, or now I'm getting it in my fingers. Yeah, now we're getting what's called a polyneuropathy. Not good. All right, the next one on the list here is it's going to start to affect your circulation. So poor circulation, one way that'll show up is that your blood vessels are getting damaged easily. Now, this can be due sometimes to deficiencies, but also blood vessels will start to break easier. Wounds will start to heal slower. It's like, oh, I got this cut and it's been a month now and it's still not really healing. Yeah, this is a problem with elevated blood sugar levels. So your healing processes, your circulation, you also can get increased plaquing due to the inflammation from diabetes in your arteries, and this will also affect your circulation and increase your cholesterol. So not a good thing there either. Then another thing is if blood sugar stays high, that starts to have more of an effect on your kidneys. And then what you'll see on the blood test is the filtration rate of your kidneys will start to get less and less. And of course, when a person eventually goes into diabetes, yeah, now we're starting to get into kidney disease, which diabetes is the most common cause of kidney disease, and the last thing you want to do is end up on a dialysis machine for the rest of your life. So not a good thing there with that. And we don't want these blood vessels in your kidneys to start swelling and leaking. Not a good thing. Another thing that can happen with high blood sugar is this extra blood sugar can start to deposit. Again, your body's trying to store all this. So it'll say, hey, you know, we're running out of places to store this. Let's start to store it in the nerves that go to the eye, like the optic nerve or the retina, and even in the blood vessels in the eyes. So now you start to get visual changes. You start to get maybe blurred vision, or you start to have spots where you can't see well. Eventually, some diabetics, diabetic retinopathy is when you actually start to go blind because of the high blood sugar. Not a good thing at all. And then another thing that can occur, number 9 on the list, is increased inflammation and pain. So remember, insulin is inflammatory. It's like, again, pouring gas on a fire. And as your system becomes chronically inflamed, that inflammation starts to spread throughout the body, especially if it's happening on a regular basis. In fact, not only can high blood sugar affect insulin, but it'll start to increase some of your other inflammatory cytokines, inflammatory immune system factors, and this will start to cause more pains, aches. People say, oh, my joints ache, it's because I'm overweight that my joint. No, there's a lot of people that are overweight who don't have joint pain. So it's not really that. Or back pain. It's not really that always. Sometimes there can be mechanical issues there, but even more so, it's going to be because of all this inflammation due to the high blood sugar, and not a good thing. And of course, if a joint stays inflamed long enough, it starts to break down, and then we get arthritic processes and all kinds of things accelerated. Not good either. And then another one, of course, probably the most common complaint with high blood sugar is people are like, hey, I'm overweight. I can't lose weight. What's going on here? I just keep gaining weight. So this is that storage mode. Your body saying, hey, I can't get the blood sugar into the cells. They keep eating. All that blood sugar keeps coming in. I keep making insulin at high levels. Can't get it into the cells. Store, store, store. That turns into adipose tissue, fat tissue, and we just get more and more density, more and more growth, which is a secondary effect of this. Not a good thing, and it makes it very hard to lose unless you're doing things actively to change this. All right, and the last one on the list, the big number 11, is increased hunger. So it's like, wait a second, I'm already eating a lot, and my blood sugar is high, but I just ate dinner, but I'm still hungry. It's not just the craving sweets after meals. It's that I can continue eating. I just ate that steak. I ate the potato. I ate the veggies. Now I want more steak. I want more potato. I want that. I want a second helping or even a third. I can keep going. Not good. Now, why is that occurring though? Because why isn't your body saying, hey, you're on full. The tank's full. Stop. Well, what happens is as your insulin increases, another hormone that's supposed to tell you to stop eating, called leptin, starts to bottom out. You get what's called leptin resistance. And this is a hormone made by the brain, the hypothalamus in the brain, that should say, hey, tank's full, stop eating. We're done. We're not hungry anymore. That's what should occur with that. And that's what's going to happen with the insulin resistance, is it'll turn into leptin resistance. Remember, insulin resistance is pre-diabetes. Leptin resistance occurs. Keep eating. You're not full yet. So all these are signs of, again, advancing problems leading to that full-blown diabetes. So this has to be stopped. And in this next video, I'm going to show you a way to deal with this. Now, there are other ways to deal with this, but in particular, diet plays a big part, exercise plays a big part, but there's even further than that. Some people have gut inflammation issues. There's many factors that can tie into this that don't make it easy to jump right out of once it gets going. But again, watch this next video, and I think it'll give you some great information. All right, God bless, and I'll see you next time.